What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another Comically Boston breakdown for Agatha All Along. Still haven't heard that through 2 episodes, but you know I'm waiting. It's been Agatha all along. Who's been messing with everything? God, that is such a little earworm. But Agatha All Along, episode 2 breakdown. If you haven't seen my episode 1, go check that out. Already up on the channel. But episode 2 was titled Circle Sewn with Fate. Unlock thy hidden gate. And this one is where we start to get a little bit more witchy and we get into the coven. And this is what I thought episode 1 was going to be more about, but episode 1 threw me for a loop on probably what the entire series as a whole is going to be about. The relationship between Aubrey and Kathryn Hahn, the what happened to Wanda of it all, the tying into Multiverse of Madness. I really like that because we damn well know Jack Schaefer and the people that made WandaVision did not want her character to end up the way it ended up in Multiverse of Madness, but now they can't change that. The genie's out of the bottle. So now they have to make this show the aftermath of that and try to explain it somehow. But at least now it's back in the hands of the people that made the original show and not just, hey, I want to throw her into this movie. It was cool, but at the moment in time when Multiverse of Madness came out, we all were like, what the fuck? This is not what we wanted. And then now afterwards, years later, I'm like, this is still a good Sam Raimi movie. You know, it's cool to see Agatha, or Wanda, spooky, haunted, taken over by the Darkhold type thing, a villain, but also like, we wanted our girl Wanda to be back from WandaVision, right? Like, she had gone through this whole arc in WandaVision just to end up being a darker villain in Multiverse of Madness. And then it was called Multiverse of Madness. They only went to 2 universes. Come on. I don't know. Still a good movie, but, you know, initially I hated it. But it's grown on me since. But, episode 2 here. We start right back where episode 1 left off. Agatha's in her house, and poor Joe Locke, and the teen is what we call him, is tied up in the closet still, and she's like, look at my door, right? Because Rio blew up her door last week. Oh god. And finally he's like, and she's like getting ready and shit, and she's like, alright, teen mysterious boy I don't know, the house is yours, I'm leaving. And he gets the duct tape off of his mouth and goes, take me to the road. And she's like, the road is no place for a kid. He goes, I'm 16. Oh, sorry, teen. So now that's probably where teen comes in the rest of this time. And he goes, I must be honest, I know an egregious amount about you, talking about Agatha. And he goes, that's why I broke you out of that spell you were under. And she goes, you must be very powerful to be able to break a Scarlet Witch's spell. So now she kind of, you know, is buying in on the Joe Locke of it all. It's like, okay, I see you, Mr. Locke. I'll get you, I'll bring you, okay. So she sits down and listens to Joe Locke, teen, and he says they're both missing power. Agatha finds her brooch again, picks it up, and goes, who are you? And he says his name twice. But the mouth is sewn shut. And it's not necessarily sewn shut because it's almost like this M comes over his mouth. Now, immediately, and it distorts the audio so you can't hear it, immediately my first instinct went to Mephisto, M. The way it was written was kind of like fancy M, and it was like Mephisto, right? Like, it was the only thing I could tell. And who would have the power to distort whenever his name was said? Mephisto. You know, like, and if he's trying to say his own name or something, I don't know. But if it's part of Wanda's spell and he is Billy, you know, her son, maybe it's Maximoff that it's supposed to be, but like, I don't know. It's still weird that, like, you know, he goes to say his name and Agatha can't hear it even though he said it, and she just sees his mouth sewn shut, and she's like, very interesting. Agatha, like, just kind of sees him not be able to hear his name said to her, and she's just like, okay, let's go, and sits down at like a couch and has like a fake wheel that's like a hula hoop, and she's like, oh, this is not a car, okay, let's go, and just like walks out of the house. and goes, here, you take the keys, you drive, and drops like scissors, and he's like, what the fuck? So she's losing it clearly. And she goes, they need to find a coven to get to the road. The only way to open a door is a coven. We need a coven to get to the witch's road. And as she's walking out telling the teen about this, she sees the foundation of Wanda's house. And she's like, keep going. And she spits in the direction of the house. And we also see the foundation says the witch, something like that. It has like the Scarlet Witch's M with like a line crossed through it. I will say though, I do love the fits on that Agatha, right? Like now that it's not Agnes and it's Agatha, it kind of, you can see Kathryn Hahn switch, because Agnes was this character. Now Agatha is the person, and she is like dark and witchy and bitchy and very I feel like Devil Wears Prada, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know the last time I've seen that movie, but I feel like Meryl Streep's character was a real bitch in that movie, but like intentional, and I feel like that's the vibe she's going for here with Agatha. Joe Locke's still great though. He's very contagious with how much you end up liking him, and you're like, oh wow, he is pretty fucking great. So she makes the teen get in the car and start driving. They're driving along and his phone starts ringing and it says BF, and he's like, oh, don't worry about him, he worries. So the teen has a little boyfriend. Okay, I'm interested. Why is he worrying? Why is he calling? Why did he call the moment they were driving out of Westview? Like he had some type of signal go off or something? Like, my boyfriend's leaving, you know? I don't know. And she goes, little known fact about covens, wherever you are, a coven there shall be. Any 3-mile radius, there is witchy enough people to make a coven. And goes, here, right here, stop. You know, kind of Deadpool vibes. Right here, you know, like, so Agatha and the teen road tripping around to adventure to find the witches for their coven. I was like, I could have got more of this. I could have really watched more and more. Like, that could have been the whole episode, them just driving around finding witches. I would have been interested enough, but they keep it moving, and they find their first witch, which was Patty Lapone, aka Lilia Caldaroo. And they get her a crystal ball reading, and she knows Agatha was under control of another witch for 3 years, and she's not interested. She goes, Lilia Caldaroo. And she's like, what witch in her right mind would join Agatha Harkness's coven? She goes, I'm not looking for right-minded witches. And Lilia's kind of losing it too. And she goes, you're 450 years old. And you're a divination witch. I need one of those. Now, this is what I'm talking about, and I talked about in episode 1. I am not well versed in the witchiness, so if you are, and you're a big witch yourself, if you're a witchy gal, or a witchy guy, or a warlock, whatever you are, if you're well versed in the witchcraft of the witchiness, comment below, what's a divination witch? I mean, potions I could kind of understand from like Harry Potter. That's like as far as my witchiness goes, is Harry Potter knowledge. But what's divination? I would love to know that in the comment section below. And then all of a sudden, like, some stuff starts happening. He's like, what is happening? And she goes, witchcraft. And then all of a sudden she like pulls out this paper and there's a list of 4 names on it. And we see Agatha Harkness, Lilia Caldaroo are the first 2 names. And she goes, here's your list. I don't want to be a part of it. And she goes, your name's on this list. Fuck. You know, like, she was so pissed. She was like, no. And she's like, yep, your name's on this list. And it's Agatha, Lilia, and then we saw Jennifer with the last names blocked out and Alice with the last name blocked out. But we know that already to be Jennifer, Kale, and Alice. Woo! But we find out more about them later this episode. But Agatha, you know, right, so after recruiting Lilia, they walk out to the car, and she sees a sign that says Carter's. And I was immediately like, is that an Agent Carter type of vibe? Like a, you know, Captain Carter type of vibe? There's a crow on top of the sign, and it like distracts her for a sec. But we go to the next location. Jennifer Kale is next up for recruiting, and Agatha walks in and starts talking about Kegels and what she needs a egg for. So Agatha's like, I need a jade egg for my Kegels. Oh, does anyone want to go splitsies on one? And the customers that Jennifer Kale was talking to leave. And she goes, Jen, you're a potions expert. I need you for my coven. And she goes, I know you want your powers back that you haven't had for hundreds of years. So Jennifer Kale is a potions witch, but hasn't had her powers in hundreds of years. interesting. Lilia Caldaroo seems to have her powers, but she's 450 and, you know, kind of losing it. But so Agatha, kind of bad cop, turns away from her and goes, all right, whatever, suit yourself. And then the teen steps in and goes, oh my god, I follow your Insta page. It really cleared up my pores. And she's like, who is this? And then he goes, I also noticed you had some lawsuits against you. And she's like, uh-oh. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't been found guilty. And Agatha's like, historically, we as a group don't do well in court. Talking about witches. She goes, if you want your freedom, join us here tonight. So, and the teen hands her the address of where the coven shall be meeting, Agatha's house. And then Agatha takes a jade egg and she goes, all right, I'm going to take one of these. You know where to find it. Pretty much saying like, hey, this will be up my pussy. I'll be doing Kegels with it if you want it back. That's how I took it. Oh my god. Kathryn Hahn was really killing me in this show. Every line she gave, I loved. I honestly want to watch this show over and over and over again so much at this current moment in time. I'm like, first 2 episodes, until next Wednesday, I will have watched the first 2 episodes multiple times by then, I promise. So then they leave Jennifer Kale and she goes, the Blood Witch is up next. A daughter of a witch is a blood witch, you know, so if the mom was a good witch, maybe the daughter passed on some of her witchiness, you know what I mean? That type of blood witch vibe is how I took what blood witch means. Maybe it's a witch that's kind of like the waterbender Katara from Avatar, The Last Airbender, and she can blood bend. I don't know. I think it's the first option. But she says Lorna Wu was the mom of the witch that they're after, and she's the goddess of rock. And she goes, rumor has it Lorna Wu was lost to the Witch's Road. And they discover her in a mall as a security guard, and she was a former police officer, and her name is Alice Wu / Gulliver. So Alice Wu, and because her mom died, she took Gulliver, which was maybe her father's name, or maybe she married or something. But kept the first name, but hyphened it to second last name, you know what I mean? But because Agatha told the teen to run, and she tackled the boy, and she finds out who she is, Alice Wu, Agatha gets her fired from her security job. And she's like, get the answers to the questions you've always wanted to know. What happened to mommy? And she walks away and she goes, tough nut to crack. Agatha, once they're back in the car, looks over at the teen and goes, where are you from? And he starts to say where he's from, but it distorts the audio, and like you can see that he's speaking, and it's not like sewn mouth shut this time, but it's just distorted audio. For us and for Agatha, we can't hear what he's saying. But then Agatha goes, am I just hearing static? Turns up the radio, can hear the radio, but can't hear him.
Where are you from?
Me? Originally, I mean, I was born and it's nice to get to know each other a little bit.
So it's distorting his audio, but she can hear. So she's like, it's not my hearing, it's just whenever he tries to say anything about himself, audio's cut, distorted, you know, so something's doing this. Whether it's Mephisto, whether it's him himself, or it's Wanda's spell, or something like that, I don't know. But it's fascinating to me. I'm like, why don't we find out anything about the teen? You know, why are we only calling him teen? At first I started calling him twin by accident. I was like, oh wait, no. Teen. If he was twin, he would be twin Maximoff boys. But no, teen. For some reason in my mind, I was just trying to concentrate again. And after I said teen, the only thing that popped into my mind was the Iron Giant, when the big giant Vin Diesel looks at the guy and goes, Dean. Just a deep cut reference for anyone out there that knows that. So then back at her house, Agatha puts on this dope little outfit. I loved this little haircut, and her makeup was so perfect, and the blue outfit with the brooch. I don't know what was with this outfit, but she looked damn fucking good. I was like, Kathryn Hahn, alright, Agatha. Alright. But so she walks out of the house and sees a coyote out in the street, kind of like growling or whatever. And she turns around, walks back inside, and we see the mailbox is packed, filled with stuff, but we don't know what's in there. She didn't grab any of it. And inside, the teen is setting up, welcome Coven. He goes, is it centered? She goes, yeah, maybe it just needs and just rips it down. And then the first of the Coven arrives, and it is Jennifer Kale arrives first and goes, fuck, am I first? And she goes, come on. He goes, come in. Would you like an hors d'oeuvre? And then Lilia Caldaroo arrives second, and then Alice Wu third. And he goes, we didn't give you the address. She goes, I'm a former cop. That's going to be my answer to a lot of things. So the three witches and Agatha would make four, but she goes, there was a fourth name on the list. It was a Black Hart was the last name. So Rio is what, we just established from the first episode, that she's got a black heart and only beats for Agatha. So the Black Hart, she was like, no, it's not a black heart. It's just you wrote in black pen. Which she didn't write anything. She magically conjured up that spell. So she takes the Black Heart and written in pen and goes and gets Mrs. Hart instead, which we find out is actually Mrs. Davis, aka Sharon Davis, played by Debra Jo Rupp, which I love Debra Jo Rupp. But so, I don't know whether to call her Mrs. Hart, Mrs. Davis, Sharon. I'm just going to call her Debra Jo, because she's great and hilarious, need her. So she talks her into coming to, she goes, I'm having a party next door, you want to come on by? So talks her into coming to this coven, and she's like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but that sounds like fun. So the teen goes, so what, we drive to the road? I don't know if we'll have room in the car. And he goes, you don't drive to the road, you conjure the road. You have to conjure the door with a coven, and the coven only works if it's a true coven, and that's the only way to get the door. And I love this coven already. They have to sing the Ballad of the Witch's Road, and Jennifer Kale goes, who's gonna go high? And Debra Jo Rupp goes, oh, I don't want to do drugs. Debra Jo Rupp killed me so hard when I was watching it last night, and just thinking about it again now just caused so much cancer to come up in my chest. Oh, Debra Jo Rupp, I love you so much. Who wants to go high, meaning the high note? Oh, sorry, I don't do drugs. Yes, you do. If you heard high and the first thing you thought was, oh, I don't want to do drugs, that just means you didn't want to do drugs right now. But Debra Jo Rupp, you totally smoking fat pot, and I fucking love it. Since the 70s show, you've been smoking that herb, my girl, and I love to hear it. But so the coven has to start singing, and the teen is not a part of this coven apparently. So she sends him upstairs. He finds the bunny. He's holding, Senior Scratch, and then they start to sing the ballad. And the teen stumbles outside with the bunny and sees the Salem 7 out in the street. Herb sees it too, right? So it's not just in his mind. So we're like, oh fuck, the Salem 7 is really there. And Herb goes, you seeing this shit? And then it's like one person, all of a sudden 7 people pop out from behind that one person, and you can see them walking as a group. They're all like black cloaked people. They kind of look dead underneath. They almost look like those witches that Agatha killed in that flashback in WandaVision. Creepy stuff, but also like dope. I was like, fuck, this is crazy. But the Salem 7, mad creepy. Joe Locke runs back into the house, tries to batten down the hatches type of deal, and they start smashing through the windows. He's like, screaming and shit. And the Ballad of the Witch's Road isn't quite working, and Debra Jo Rupp isn't quite singing. It's phenomenal though that they're like singing, and they got Patti LuPone to do this, and Patti LuPone's like a Broadway legend, and I didn't know much about her, but just the Hot Ones interview with Patti LuPone and Aubrey Plaza made me fall in love with this woman. She is so hilarious, but also so authentically like old bitch, like, but badass, you know what I mean? Like, I mean that in the most respectful, best way, Patti LuPone. But so Debra Jo wasn't singing at first because she was like, am I supposed to know this song? So they're all singing. She's kind of just standing there. And then eventually, they're all holding hands and they're all singing real serious. And she's like, down, down, down the road, down the witch's road. Like she's happy as hell to be there. And I was just like, oh, Debra Jo, love to see it. I was like, that would be me in this coven right now. I don't know what's going on, but I'm totally happy to be here. But then Patti LuPone kind of holds everyone back because she understands what Agatha's doing. Agatha starts to belittle the team, and she calls them noxious mediocrity, and calls Lilia a coward, calls Jen a fraud, and Alice a disappointment, and it all starts to cut deep, and she's like, wait, she wants us to blast her so she could steal her their powers, and she's like, do it. Only a true coven would get a door. And then Mrs. Davis or Mrs. Hart looks down and goes, what's that? And sees a pentagon-shaped door glowing blue in the floor. And the teen runs down. The Salem 7's closing in. And they all run down the door. It's like a spiral staircase through the pentagon door on the floor. They all pile through. And then we start to hear like the Salem 7 beating on the door. The noise stops. Agatha turns around and the door has now disappeared, and it's just a concrete. So there's no way back. It's only down to the road is the only way forward now for everyone. And then so now we get a shot of them all on the road in the whole coven. You got Agatha, you got Mrs. Hart, Teen, Patty Lapone, Alice Wu, and Jennifer Kale. Patty Lapone is Lilia Caldaroo. I don't know why I named all their names, their character names, just dumped Patty Lapone in there, my bad. She goes, but Agatha looks at all of them and goes, never doubted you for a second. And you're like, you fucking bitch, yes you did. So then they take off all their shoes and they start walking down the Witch's Road. Why they had to take their shoes off, but it was still a great shot though, of like the winding road, almost like the yellow brick road in Wizard of Oz, but it's just like this winding road through this mysterious dark woods with a full moon, and this great shot of all of them walking, and just the shoes left on the flowers or ground or whatever it is. But yeah, and then that's where the credits go. Down the road they go, credits, and this is a more spooky, ominous music for the credits, not like the last episode where it was a good song. But so interested in seeing where this series goes. Comment below your thoughts on episode 2. A little bit slower of an episode, but still great, because the first episode was mystery and what's going on, and Aubrey and Agatha. Episode 2 was build this coven, get on the Witch's Road. Episode 3, 4, 5 is gonna, I don't know where this is gonna go, but from here on out, it's down the Witch's Road, you know what I mean? They got Mrs. Hart, they got the teen. What happens to them on the Witch's Road, I do not know, but it's gonna pick up with episode 3, so comment below your thoughts on all this stuff. Also, I just gotta say, Joe Locke casting as the teen, does he not look so much like the young Billy Maximoff? Like, he really does. Like, I gotta think this is Billy, aka Wiccan, Wanda's son. If so, where is Tommy? You know what I mean? His speedster Tommy. Maybe he's not as witchy, so that's why he's not around. But still, is this Billy Maximoff, aka Wiccan? Is this Mephisto? Is this teen just gonna be teen forever? I don't know, but the mystery behind his character is totally interesting. The mystery between the relationship and between Rio and Agatha, I'm totally interested in. I'm also interested to know how Agatha knows each one of these witches, what each one of their powers will be, and how cool each one of them are. I'm definitely interested to find out more about Alice Wu's mother, Lorna Wu. She was like a rock star fucking witch that apparently got lost on the Witch's Road. Now they're on the Witch's Road. Maybe they'll find her. Maybe they'll find her corpse. I don't know. But these are all questions and things I would like to have answered in episode 3. So far through 2, I am ecstatic. I love this show. I cannot wait to see more. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below, or you can message me on my other social medias. Links down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far in the video and you'd like to support me more, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, hit that bell so you don't miss future Agatha All Along breakdowns, Comically Boston's, movie reviews, all types of stuff. I got Lego content coming out over the weekend, so stay tuned for all that, y'all, and I will see you beautiful people in the next video. Peace.